Well, hello and welcome to my little book corner. Today, we are doing our October wrap up. So usually for the specific ratings, I go to storygraph because you can actually put a more specific rating in there. Ooh. So in total, I read 5 books, which is actually a lot still for the time that I had. It counts down to 2,208 pages. Average time to finish is 16 days. So that's kind of good. For my moods that I read a lot of adventurous. I love adventure in books, but I usually have a bit of everything. But I mostly had adventure, funny, dark, hopeful, lighthearted, emotional, intense. Ooh, my average rating is a 4.5 stars. Let's go to the book. So the first book that I read, it's in this one. This binder has 2 of the books, Anne of Green Gables and Anne of Avonlea. I really loved it. I've talked about it a lot. I gave this one a 4.25 because I just think it was worth more than a 4 stars, but it didn't necessarily give me a 4.5 feeling. I don't know. My ratings are really feeling based. I don't know. I liked it. Now for the next book, we have Heir of Fire. I love this series. This series is just everything to me. I gave this book specifically a 4.25 as well. Now I have to think about the reasons. I didn't write them down, but I do think it is because it was really hard for me to get into it. Or not necessarily to get into it, but to keep myself reading it. There was just so much happening, and there are a lot of new POVs that you get in this book, which is great and amazing, and I love them now. But it did take me some time to actually get in touch with the new people and get in touch with the new storylines, and just, you know, it took me a while. But once you get to the back of the book, you it really goes fast. And because of that, I really loved it. This is going to be a 5-star. This is going to be a 5-star series for me. There's no doubt in that. Then after that, I read 2 books for a series, which was the finishing series. The series of finishing series. I still don't know what the plural is of series. Is there even a plural for it? I don't know. But I loved the books that I read for that. And I didn't think I was gonna love them as much as I did, because the first book I already really liked, but I wasn't like feeling something special for it. The moment I started these, Gilded Cage and The Blood Trader by Lynette Noni, I fell in love with them. And I read them both back to back because I don't know, the adventure in this, the found family in this, I just can't get over the found family. I just love found family in books. My most favorite prompt, really. And to get that in fantasy books is just a whole different game. It's just so much more special for some reason, because it's just, the bond is more desperately needed. The things that happen in these books are just, I can't talk about them in specific detail because spoilers. You really need to experience these books blindly. Let me actually look at the rating. I don't think they were 5 stars. Ooh, The Gilded Cage is a 4.5. And The Blood Trader is a 5 stars. I do really still agree with that, because The Gilded Cage was just everything, but it lacked something. The Blood Trader was just everything. Like the battle that is in this. I finished this series and I'm just so glad. Then last but not least is the book that I actually read just before I went to work. It's Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I have to say, this book really exceeded my expectations. Like, I knew people loved it and it was a really hyped book. I really thought it was going to be a low-key following this character while she just kind of finds out about fairies. I didn't think there was going to be as much action in here than in other fantasy books, and I do have to say, it's not that much. Don't expect like real big battles and that stuff, but there was kind of a lot of adventure in here, and a lot of just, I don't know, it just really exceeded my expectations in that, and I just really loved it. I did need some time to get into it because the writing is just so different from what I read before. It's not a bad writing, it's a really good writing. It's just more academic and more, not necessarily difficult, but well, yeah, a little bit more difficult English words. But I just love the overall vibe. It's a perfect winter book, but autumn does fine as well. But yeah, it's just a really nice book to like snuggle under a blanket, get some hot cocoa, and just read it. I don't know how Heather Fessa did it, but she made it like cozy but adventurous at the same time, and I feel like that's a hard thing to get, but she did it, and I really loved it. So I'm definitely going to read the second book as well, and I'm really excited what that would be about, if conflicts are going to come back or if there's going to be a new conflict. I don't know. Okay, it's the first Monday of the month, which means testing the alarm. All of Holland is hearing this right now. It's a weird thing to think about. That was my TBR. Well, it wasn't my TBR. What did I actually read for my TBR? I think almost everything. Oh, I did. The only other thing that was on my TBR as well, because I made a video about that, finishing my whole TBR, was It by Stephen King. That was also on my TBR, but I didn't finish that. I forgot a book. How can I do that? I actually forgot a book. I didn't put it on my storygraph, I think. What? That's weird. How can I forget about a book that I've read? I was already thinking. I made a video about finishing my TBR, and this was on there. So I was like, why isn't that one on here? But I also read Gallant by V.E. Schwab, which was a perfect October read because it was spooky, it had ghost involved. What? It had ghost involved. It was a little bit disturbing at some points. Give this a 4 stars. I firstly gave it a 4.5, and then I read Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, and I felt like I want to give that one a 4.5 stars, and I kind of love that one better than this one, so I put this down to a 4 stars. I guess I forgot to put this on my storygraph. I do think I have it on my Goodreads because I did update that one. I'm really glad I read this in October. And I do have to say, it wasn't my favorite V.E. Schwab book. It's also the second book that I've read, so I can't really talk yet. But the writing in it was still so beautiful. I'm just gonna read every book of hers because of the writing. She just has the greatest writing. So I'm going to make it a goal to read every book by V.E. Schwab. No, it's actually my third book because I also have Ghost Girl. I don't know what that one's called. City of Ghost. City of Ghost. I also have that one. That was actually my first V.E. Schwab book, but I didn't know because she had a different name on that book, Victoria Schwab. So I thought they were different people, but it turns out they're the same. It's a really different genre from what I normally read, but I really like it. So I do really want to read more of V.E. Schwab. So this is my actual TBR, which means I have 6 books that are read, which is kind of impressive. I think that's impressive. So this is everything I read this month, and I don't think I read another book that I don't have physically. No, because some of these I listened to. I'm really glad with the books that I've read. I mean, an average rating of 4.5 stars is just really good, and I just had a really fun month. I had really different genres. I had high fantasy, I had a classic, I had a horror kind of thingy, and I had a cozy fantasy, which, I don't know, I like having different genres, but I am definitely in a fantasy mood though. So you're mostly going to see fantasy books being read in the time that's coming, but this is it for my October wrap-up. I really hoped you enjoyed these October videos, and I'm going to make a lot more in November as well, so please stay tuned and subscribe or like the video if you liked it. And then there's only one thing left to say, and that is on to the next video. I don't know what that is.